So you
Oh.
get to learn new questions as you learn more knowledge. So cool,
Mhm.
great. I learned this new thing. Holy crap. I have a different vantage point. I have way more questions now because it just continues and continues to grow this circumference, this perimeter of ignorance. And it leads to the next question. The next question, maybe the thing you're talking about is posting organic, which I've struggled with. I will self
Oh!
convict myself. I will
Wow,
self
that's
convict
funny.
myself. So posting, all right, cool. Hey, if you post, the inputs would be like the what are you saying in the post? What is the style of post? Maybe it's how long it is. What is the image or creative? Is it a picture of you? Is it a graphic? Is it a video, a reel, what have you? You post that and you check the response. Now it also depends on what you're trying to measure. Are we just trying to go for views and engagement, or we're trying to get money?
Oh
Those are
yeah.
two different things
Yes,
completely.
sir. Yes,
So
sir.
with engagement,
Awareness and engagement and conversion, which
yeah,
is selling, are
right.
very
Those
different.
are two very different optimizations. Okay. So the outputs are completely different and what you're going for, which means you need to change. All right.
So, how do you turn your business into an actual brand? Well, my name is Bijal Patel, and I've had 13 years of corporate experience working at big Fortune 500 companies, and I'm taking all of that juicy firsthand experience and have brought it into my company Launch. Within this podcast, you're going to learn about branding, vision, identity, mindset, and how to scale your business to the next level. So, let's go ahead and own your brand. Hey guys, welcome back to Own Your Brand. I am so stoked. I have one of my favorite people with me today, JonCameron Johnson. He is the owner of Etho. He is also the most genius man I think that I've ever met when it comes to words. I don't even know half the words he says. And most importantly, this guy is like my little brother. So we have formed a bond over 2 years. He has an incredible business that he's going to tell us a little bit about and what he's all about. He has a wonderful wife to be soon. She's already wife status, but there's an official ceremony, and a daughter and a son. And he's just an amazing human being. So welcome to the show, JonCameron.
Thank you, B. Joel. I love the intro. Thank you for making me sound awesome.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy.
Thank you for making me sound awesome. And yes, right back at you. You have become an incredible person in my life, and
Mm.
I'm thankful for getting to know you and through the 2 years of us getting to create that bond and relationship and connection. So I am excited to be here. We're gonna just have fun. We're gonna have some
We're gonna have so
conversations
much
here.
fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let's start from I'm gonna actually take our conversation a little bit differently. Is I One of the things I think is so fascinating about you, JonCameron. By the way, don't call him JC. Okay, that's not we call him JonCameron, and it will be spelled correctly. One of the things I find so fascinating about you is you are absolutely brilliant in your genius of being able to understand things at a level that is just honestly, it's a couple notches above where most of us are operating, but you have a tendency to be very, very humble about it. Excuse me. So I kind of want to get an understanding of when did you develop this ability that it's so clear that you can understand things at a different level, but anytime you're interacting with someone, you're always really quick to edify the other person.
Okay, so I think, and first of all, yeah, John Cameron is the full first name. It's even got two capital letters. That's why it's always throws people off. So just so you guys know, so I think to answer your question, I think insatiably curious, like the insatiable curiosity that is never fulfilled, always interested in finding out new information from the mundane to the highly complex. I think that's one piece. I believe if you what's worked for me at least is as you start learning things, like when you learn a new language, it unlocks the ability to see things differently because you're having to work different parts of your brain. I think one of the best personifications of this was this movie called Arrival, had Amy Adams in it. And in this movie, if you haven't seen it, basically she learns the language of this new extraterrestrial race. And because of that, she's able to bend time. and go through
Mm.
time because she learns a new language. It becomes a tool, a technology embedded in her brain. Well, I think learning is the same way. So for me, if I learn about software, I learn about services, I learn about, um, you know, the divergent thinking through grabbing multiple pieces of information from multiple places, whether it be business related, be personal, relational, health wise, what have you, and you start implementing all that, you start seeing patterns. And I think that's where what ends up happening is it's just pattern recognition. Just because I see, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that looks like this, that looks like that, and you can start. I think what ends up happening is I start making these mental models that I can now ascribe to multiple different industries, and that's what makes it a little bit simpler, at least for me. That's what's worked for me. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
that's the way I think about it.
I think it does, because I think what you're, and I'll just add a little bit to it and you'll tell me if I'm on track, is that insatiable curiosity. That is what allows you to be humble when you're talking to people, because there's always an openness to what is it that I don't know. The question isn't, let me showcase what it is I do know. That core value that you have, which, in launch world, we call core behavior. The core behavior of insatiable curiosity always has you wondering what it is that you don't know.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I love the old adage. It's I think it's from Einstein, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's attributed to him, which is, as the area of your knowledge expands, so does the perimeter of your ignorance. So you
Oh.
get to learn new questions as you learn more knowledge. So cool,
Mm-hmm.
great. I learned this new thing. Holy crap. I have a different vantage point. I have way more questions now because it just continues and continues to grow, this circumference, this perimeter of ignorance. And it leads to the next question, which to some people, when you're coming into an industry or you're coming into, conversation with people, I think why I've had I think it's commonplace for me, and for them, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. How would you know that? How are you answering a question that I don't even know how to ask? And I think that's just
Yeah.
because of the insatiable curiosity. I think that's just really comes down to, I'm not necessarily special. It's just I love learning stuff.
Yeah,
Period.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, you are special, but my belief system is that we are all special. I don't believe we all deserve trophies though. So
Yeah.
we are all special because we are unique in our creation, and that's why we have our own fingerprints. But we don't all need a trophy um, related to every single thing that we do.
Hmm.
But your body of work, I think, is really fascinating. So I think, learning from you, let's talk a little bit about, let the audience know what is Etho and what is the problem you're solving, and then I'm going to kind of take us to the next point in the conversation, which is, I love the fact that you're able to help people codify their IP and their
Hmm.
genius. Like, I think that is tremendous. But let's talk about Etho for a second and what you're looking to solve in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from a vision standpoint, it's eradicating disease for human civilization. So if we start from that core North
Wow.
Star, we can start going down the mountain. So from the summit, which is what I just said, now it's, can we create 1 billion years of vitality for the world?
Mm.
Okay, so that's the mission that we can measure, right? So then we go from
Mm-hmm.
there. Great. So how do we do it, right? So now we understand the what and the why. How do we do it? The first way we're starting this process is building essentially a council of clients that are some of the smartest people in healthcare, so we can figure out the best practices to get these holistic and natural healthcare practitioners, as that industry is growing, the voice out in the market and allow them to serve more people. So
Mm.
that's number one. Number two is that codification that you're referring to, is how do I take the intellectual property of these doctors and assemble it in a way where the natural, health and wellness, that type of care, which is 99% of the time not covered by insurance, which is part of the challenge that they run into and we have to solve. How do we make it more accessible? Because sometimes it can be cost prohibitive. It just can. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the fact of the matter. And so how do we make it more accessible to more people? So dropping the price, the fulfillment, but then allowing the prospective patients or clients, technically, at that stage, to get access to the knowledge that will help them heal themselves. Typically, chronic illness, autoimmune disease, these kinds of things. Then, third,
Mm-hmm.
as we gather the resources, building long term, and it might be beyond my lifetime, you see this in sci-fi movies like Elysium. You'll see it in Star Trek. You'll see it in Starship Troopers. All these movies that have basically med beds. Passengers is another one. You sit in it, you lay in this bed, and it scans your body, finds out the problem, and then it's able to heal you.
Mm.
To the point of, instead of it being, sure, my in the version one of the way I'm imagining is it'll take some time, but version 100 will be instantaneous, right? You will
Mm.
use quantum physics to adjust the time, to basically print atoms on the body and fix it. So I can get all in the nerd science over there, but the point is, in a nutshell, Etho, I want it to become the end all solution to health. And now we can start squabbling and arguing about other stuff. But if we can make people healthy, I think overall the planet will be better. Human
I love
civilization will
that.
be better. There will be geniuses that will be able to live and thrive because they don't pass away to sickness at a young age, or a father and a mother can not have to bury their child, or grandmother and grandfathers can spend more time with their kids and grandkids and live a healthier, happier life. Maybe longer, but it's not just length, it's also healthy, right? So these types of experiences and moments are not lost to sickness.
That's so beautiful. There's so much to unpack there, and I wanted to give you some airtime just to lay out like the size of the vision, the size of the mission, how measurable it is, how big the numbers are. And I've seen people. We've had the opportunity to be in a lot of rooms together. We share a mastermind together, and I notice that every time you mention your mission or vision, people are just they're awestruck by it. And I love that. And I want to point out that like when you're owning your brand, you don't have a question mark at the end of what you say. And there's a certainty there. And, we share this word a lot because I got it from you, is you're inevitable. So this mission is inevitable, that there's going to be a billion years of vitality added to this planet. It's inevitable. And I also love the fact, and I want to shine a light on you, that you're like, well, this may not happen in my lifetime. I love it. It's so what? Some of the biggest and best things that have ever happened can't just fit within a nice clean 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to expand generations and generations. And when you see things that are timeless and they changed the trajectory of humans, it took a few lifetimes usually to do that. So I love the fact that you've suspended your ego to understand that there has to be somebody who's willing to claim, to willing to declare a vision and a mission that's so big and so profound. Because I think that creates a magnetic attraction right back to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're blowing smoke at all. And I've had the privilege to be inside of your business and get to see some of that too, and just look at sort of some of the back end stuff. And I love the fact that you're able to fully own that brand. So the question from here then, before we move on to back to the IP piece, because I first want to know is, how did you develop this ability? And it might be a why question, so I'll leave that up to you of how we take it. How did you develop this ability to have that confidence, that the unshakable confidence to speak that mission and vision out? Was there a time it wasn't like this and you grew into this? Did you come out the
Yep.
womb like this? Like, what is it, dude? Tell the audience.
So no, I did not come out the womb this way. That would be interesting. No,
Woo!
that's
There's
definitely
hope
not it.
for us.
Yeah. No, I think of it's interesting how you can't see moving forward, right? You can always have that hindsight 2020. We always hear that adage. And so what I've come to find is it was a series of events that look serendipitous as I go through time. I look through my timeline. It's hilarious looking back and go, oh, this was inevitable, from the mistakes that were made, the business failures, to the people I even dated who all had autoimmune diseases of some form.
Oof.
But I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what autoimmune. Had no clue what that term was up until we got our long-standing, my longest-standing client, who's going to be the best man at my wedding. and he's one of the greatest doctors in the definitely in the United States, arguably one of the top doctors in the world.
Mm.
So he taught me about autoimmune disease and all those things. But as I look at my timeline and realize I've been driving this direction the entire time. This was being
Mm.
called to me, but I was being primed. I was being shown, hey, here's how autoimmune affects people, especially the people, in those moments, the people I'm dating. So I see how it's affecting them, but I didn't know there was a solution to it. I didn't know there was a
Oof.
way to solve that problem because of the way it was presented to me or told to me by them. It's not fixable. You got to live with it, all these things. And so as I was understanding what autoimmune was and being taught by our best client on this, I was like, I really want to solve this problem because he's telling me stories of just people that came to him that they were on a path to a terminal. Yeah, they were terminal. They were going to die,
Mm.
and it seemed inevitable, right? That was like the thing is like, hey, you're written off by uh, Western medicine. It's game over for you. Basically, you just got to manage it, and we're gonna do our best to make the pain not as bad, but you're that's it. And
Oh.
he's over here intercepting and interfering with that timeline and then reinventing their life through his care, through some of the most wild, based on physics, not chemistry and not biology, but based on physics. And I was like, if this is possible, if this is actually true, oh my God.
Mm.
Like my whole paradigm around what I want to do with my life shifted. And so as I went to his office, his clinic, and he, early in the early stages of my company, and witnessed patient after patient after patient, hey, had this disease, this cancer that was going to kill me, stage 4. I was on dialysis. I was on a liver transplant list. I was, had cancer across my entire body, and now it's gone. They think they've misdiagnosed me. That is how effective it was. They thought it was a mistake. And so seeing that among other things, thyroid disease, IBS, multiple sclerosis, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, CRP. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Okay. I was like, I want to do this. And I think from that point, I recognized directionally where I wanted to go, which is do this, but I didn't have the words for it. And so in our mastermind together, you and I share the same mentor, and he challenged me to make my dream bigger, my vision
Mm.
bigger. And I thought to myself, what is bigger than changing the course of human civilization?
Mm.
Right? It could be, you
Mm.
can do it in multiple ways. There's multiple things you can do, but
Mhm.
what is big that affects everyone, and billions, if not trillions, or even quadrillions of people through time,
Mhm.
eradicating disease, eradicating
Mm.
disease. So now we no longer have to worry about that. If we can solve that problem, I just imagine all the people that the aggregate productivity, the aggregate prosperity,
Yeah.
the aggregate fulfillment, the families that are not torn apart, babies that are going to be healthy, they're not lost to congenital disease. All those moments that would be purchased back.
Mm.
That's a worthy cause to me.
Heck yeah. Heck
So it
yeah,
just
it
came
is.
down to programming and feeling worthy to own this vision. It came down to me going, why the hell am I here? Questioning that a lot through, as
Mhm.
I'm 33 today, but questioning that a tremendous amount. Like, what is it that I'm here to do? That I will die empty because I've given it all to the field. I've in the gladium, right inside of the arena. I've given it all.
Mhm.
I've spent everything, and I think that vision is worth that, regardless if it's the long term vision is fulfilled in my lifetime or not. But at least to set into motion, create momentum around that problem, so that yes, there will be someone that is crazy enough that can see that vision and go, I want to pick up the torch and carry that beyond your life into the next
Yeah.
generation, and so on and so forth. So
Hmm.
I
I
think,
love
I don't know
that.
if that answers your question, but
It does. It does.
okay.
You don't need to do that with me. I'll have you answer the question one way or another. I'm pretty nifty like that. I think I want to reflect back a few things because that was a really beautiful share, and it I felt it. I just was very present in the moment with it, so I could feel what you were going through, and I know more details of your story. And it's I one thing that's true for people. So anyone who's listening here who's like, "Wow, that's amazing." One thing that's true for you, as is for me, as true for JonCameron, is that every person goes on their own epic hero's journey. And so, what I heard in your share, JonCameron, is that these people with these different autoimmune diseases, et cetera, they were coming in the form of partners, and you just had all of this like training and qualification of what was going to lead up to the moment where you're, your best man, your number one client, and amazing human being, having heard about him, what I have, steps into your life at this perfect timing, this divine timing where you're ready to receive, where you're ready to be given a directional agent. Because somebody could argue, somebody as bright as you could do a lot of things. You could do this, you could do that, you could do the other thing. You could be a jack of all trades, you could focus on something different. But there were always the signs, like you were on a trail. And then in comes our mentor, Taylor, and he expands the vision, which he's so good at doing. And it's like these people will be set up on this trail that we're all given, and you're just completing this arc. So what I sense is that the certainty that you get that this vision is going to be inevitable is because when you do reflect backward, it was always there. The
Mhm.
signs were always there. So if you can look backward, we can also look forward. We can also look forward in 2020, maybe 2040, and we can see into the future the same way we can look back.
I would agree with that. Yes.
So let's go into this codification stuff. So JonCameron taught me this word too. So I'm just going to go ahead and just share all of these words so you know what they mean and you can feel smarter. And they're actually, the reason I like some of these words is that these words that I've learned, like heuristics and codification, and there's all kinds of other ones that will probably come up just from quantum entanglements, one of my favorite phrases I've learned through JonCameron, and we experience it a lot. Um, these bigger words that I didn't know what they meant, I like them because they more precisely define the exact thing. Whereas some things take 2, 3, 4 words or a sentence to describe. When you talk about codification, my understanding of that word is the ability to take something and like demystify it, like kind of like hieroglyphics. And then you've got the code to say, like, what does that symbol mean? It means this instead. And so when we talked about the codification of IP, every single one of us who owns a business should have some level of intellectual property. We have to have some version of that. So you may have named it, you may have actually got it trademarked. Awesome if you did, good for you. But we have a process or a system or a model or a way we do things that's very unique to us in the way we deliver. And what JonCameron is exceptional at doing is having you be able to extract more of that out of yourself. So I wanted to stop and just take a moment to like hear from, how would you explain, what does it mean to codify your IP? What does it mean in our time we work together on your personal brand of helping people unlock their genius?
Mhm.
What does that mean for you? And help give us a couple of tangible examples of where people could use this.
Yeah. So I love this topic. I can talk about this ad nauseum. So where do I start? I think when I
Let's
look at
start
the
with let's start with your definition of the word codification, because who
yes.
knows if I got that wrong. So let's just start there.
Okay. Okay. So you can look up the Google, the dictionary version. The way I describe it, the way I use the word and operationalize it is to take something that has no form and you give it form so that it's
Mm,
repeatable.
mm,
It is bringing order to chaos on something. It could be a formula, it could be a delivery method, it could be a piece of knowledge, and you make it accessible to the layman, to the average person. It might have taken you 30 years to understand this concept, but because you're so well versed on this thing, whatever that thing is, you can distill it down to its most sophisticated, elegant, and simple explanation so that it can be understood by the masses. And that
Mm.
part is hard. That's
So
why it's
hard.
hard. It's extremely
So hard.
difficult. Why? Because it requires an extreme amount of mental horsepower. Because codification is not about additive. It's not an additive process. It is a subtractive and deductive process. It is removing and shaving off until you get to the point where I cannot remove anything else. It is essentially perfect.
Is it kind of like painting a piece of art is additive and sculpting a piece of work is deductive, right? So like
Correct.
that's how we would. Okay.
I would.
Michelangelo,
Mhm.
he was deductive when he sculpted whatever
Yes.
he sculpted.
Yes. So deductive, yes, I would say it's more like sculpting, for
Mhm.
sure. You're fine tuning it. Fine. Oh, that piece needs to be gone. This and I think inside of that space, you're always going to be wanting to improve it. But lots of times you can get down to the very base first principles version of that to the point where it's like I can't literally cannot remove anything else. And then you don't need to touch it. And especially when you stress test it. So that's the second piece of that. You need to stress test it. And it should be
Mm.
able to work like a law of physics. You should also know where
Which is
what we also need to know where it contradicts itself, because now that's
mm.
nuance. There's always nuance for anything.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, this is basically a fundamental law of your thing. This is how this thing works. Now, you can espouse that meaning to anything you're doing inside of your business, inside of your life. How do you, if you codify how you operate as a husband or wife, how you
Mm.
codify how you teach, cultivate, and prepare your kids for the world, to your delivery method, your formula, your user experience, whatever. Or how can I skill and knowledge transfer to you in the shortest distance possible? It can be used in so many ways. You can codify anything. Anytime you write something down, if you write a checklist down, a recipe down, that is codification. This is how you make
Oh,
this
that's a
cake.
good one.
That's codifying. But we don't think of it
Yes.
that way, right? And
Well,
so,
I remember when I made my 7-layer bean dip, which you haven't had the privilege of having, but
the privilege,
I made the best 7-layer bean dip on the
bold claim.
planet,
That's a bold
on the
claim.
whole planet, and it's probably 10-layer, but like that's just the branding is 7. Give them less, deliver more. But when people finally harassed me and I codified it, it was so painful. It was I know how to make this. How come it was so hard? So it goes. I was just going back to agreeing with you that the mental horsepower to do something that's automatic and tribal knowledge for me was literally painful.
And here's why. So I'll give you the actual biological reason. So there's this thing called myelin. Myelin, its whole sole purpose is it's actually made of cholesterol. Myelin is made of cholesterol. So, and that's a whole nother topic around cholesterol. But the point is, myelin is made of cholesterol primarily, and what it uses to insulate the brain's ability to fire signals
Mm,
and reduce the energy necessary to do a thing.
hmm.
Example: first time you try to write with your left hand, if you're not left-handed, it's going to require a lot of concerted effort. But your right hand, if you're right-handed, requires almost nothing. You could probably even write without looking. Why?
Hmm.
That firing pattern has been myelinated with this sheath that's allowing the ability to do that action. Second option, second thing, have you ever been so tired that you drive home, you forget the fact that you
Hmm.
drove home? Like, I don't remember stopping at the stoplight, taking a right there, taking a left here. Like, you forget. Why? It's because that's called chunking. Well, the problem is chunking required effort and time and reps to build it. And
Mm.
now you're asking your brain, hey, go against all of the biology that you currently have and chunk it back down.
Oof.
That's why it's difficult. That's why it's so damn
Oh,
hard.
Oh my gosh, dude, that just like we're not going to talk about me and my IP, okay? We're not going to talk about it here. Just making it clear, it's my show. But when you have helped me in the past, I found it so painful because I'm like, it's like the coaches and the consultants and the service providers and all those business people who are listening to this show. It's so easy to do in the moment with the person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they give you some data input, boom, you fire back. A data input, boom, fire back. It's like driving home. So that analogy is so beautiful with the chunking because that dance has been repeated so much. A little bit of input, output, boom, 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 boom. But when you're having to codify things and you're just looking at a blank sheet or a blank Miro board or a blank remarkable and you need to sketch it out, there's no input to then react to. And so then you're having to go back into your mind
Mm-hmm.
that is designed to preserve energy
Correct.
and to eradicate any useless information. And you're saying, take me back, slow it down step by step. And your brain's like, we were past that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you think about it like software, right? It's like I
Mm-hmm.
have this beautiful API that is designed end to end. It's already installed. It's done, right? You just press
Mm-hmm.
this thing, you connect it there, and it's done, right? So that is essentially what you end up creating, this program, this operating system. And now when you say I want to teach it to someone else, now you have to flay it open and read the code.
Ugh.
And then explain why the code is the way it is so people understand the philosophy behind it so that they can now not be beholden and indentured to a recipe, but now have the capacity to be their own chef or to be their own writer of code. And it's difficult as hell. And that's why it's so difficult. That's why it's so hard because you're going against biology. You're going against your body's natural tendency to conserve energy.
Ugh. So good. So
Yep.
good. But thinking back about like, I don't know why this came to mind, but like thinking back to the recipe analogy, it was like something everyone can relate to.
Mm.
It's like, all right, don't judge. I like Olive Garden's like I like Olive Garden's breadsticks. I don't know if
They're
you're into them, John
they're
Cameron.
they're, they're bomb. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Carbs, come on
Okay.
now. Carbs are
So
yeah.
listen. We're not Italian, okay? My parents came from India, so I didn't know about the hot Alfredo sauce with the breadsticks. We're not brought up like that. Oh my god! First of all, it's so good. It's so warm. It's very fluffy, but the outside's a little bit crisp. It's got a tone. It's got a tone to it. You know when you got a good set, and you can go anywhere across the US and they're international too, and you can pretty much get the same experience. So at some point, Mrs. Olive Garden made the recipe of how to do that, made the sauce so that it was repeatable. And because of that, we now have had the privilege to have bottomless breadsticks. And it's just crazy because it's like, if we don't, what I'm saying is that if we don't stop to pull this stuff and codify what our genius is, whether it's breadsticks or bean dip or whatever, how to, eradicate disease, if we don't stop and do this, the question I think we can ask ourselves is who in the world suffers when you don't stop and use your mental horsepower so that this process,
Mhm.
this thing you know how to do can be repeatable?
Yes. And let me give you a beautiful process. This is actually my model for making models.
Mm. Oh, this is so good. This is so good, guys. I got to experience a live training of this. So you're going to just want to stop and take out your notepad, or if you're listening to this while you're driving, just come back and watch the replay at this part. But this is about to be really good.
And the best part is only four things. That's the best part. So if you can remember these four things, you can make models. This is how I start the process. Now, please hear me. You can alter these four ingredients, these four pieces, and it may look different visually, but they still need to exist. Okay, so what is a framework? Let's start with what is a framework? A framework is a set of rules in which you apply a structure to the variables. That is it. So it's like, okay, great. A framework could be like the Eisenhower matrix. I love this one. Urgent, not urgent, important, not important. Beautiful. You can now organize tasks in that quadrant. Not saying it needed to be a quadrant, but that's the way he structured it. Beautiful. That's a framework. It is static. It does not move. A model is a framework in motion. That's how I define it. So,
wait. See, y'all see how he's about to skip that over? He does a 2x2, which we all understand because we've all gone to at least one conference with a 2x2. And then he just said models in motion. That's about the time where people are like, what? But just pay attention, lean in. I will help decode. I will decode JonCameron so it makes sense. And we'll take it back to breadsticks whenever we need. We might need a little dip, eat. Okay, go ahead. Back to you.
Okay. So what a model would look like, we'll use the recipe analogy. So framework so the framework is the recipe, right? You do this, you set the oven to 350, whatever, you cook it for 20 minutes. You have these beautiful breadsticks. It should take 25 minutes, whatever. That's the framework. You install that recipe in there. The motion would be like, hey, when this goes wrong, this is what you need to do.
Oh,
right. So a model is, in my opinion, right? Once again, this is just my opinion. It requires 4 major ingredients. You need inputs, clear outputs. So you've had success, but you need that because you need to have 2 things: feedback and iteration. So inputs, outputs, feedback, and iteration. So the feedback and iteration is actually what causes the motion. Example: hey, if you add too much egg into this is going to create this problem. Here's how you resolve that. If you add an extra egg, add more flour, add more milk, or whatever, right? That would be a model to fix breadsticks, because you can now apply that to bakery as a whole, because it's a chemical reaction that causes that. So now you can take that model and see, can I apply it over here? Can I apply it over there? Fix, I have too much acid, or I have too much, too creamy, too much water, add potato, right? Like, there's so many different things. When you apply that model, now you can take that model and see, does it fit over other scenarios? And typically, if it's a great model, it will work in other locations. It will work in other circumstances. So inputs, outputs, feedback, iteration. Those 4 ingredients.
That makes so much sense, because when you think about, again, back to the breadsticks analogy, and gosh, I wish I've ever had made real breadsticks, but like, altitude is a huge factor into how things bake. Like altitude and the amount of humidity that's there. So if you've ever, we make rotis in Indian culture. They work way better in India. Like, I don't know. I'm just telling you, I don't know what it is, but like the flour is different there too. But it's also the humidity that's required. They just, everything,
pressure, all that stuff.
Yep. It's way better. So that model makes a lot of sense when we're taking it like this. And then when we're thinking about it in relation to like a business framework, an IP, like a process that you have. Let's say you're a coach. Let's just use that as an example. So because we're all hungry for breadsticks now, and we just have nowhere to go with people. So let's use an example of maybe a coach, or we could use one of your physicians, because if that one's more to mind. But like, what would somebody do when they're trying to impart their wisdom to their clients? Like, what is an example of inputs, outputs, feedback, and iteration?
So, for example, let's say I'll use an easy one. Ads. Cool. Great. Ads. People, they find them mystified. Oh, I don't know. Okay, great. So let's look at it. So inputs are copy, creative, platform, bidding. There's a lot of pieces, right? So we can look at all these inputs, and the more inputs you have, lots of times there's more things that can go wrong. Right. So that's part of the challenge with a more complex model, is because now you're like, okay, which of these is the actual issue? So the simpler inputs you have, easier outputs and easier feedback and iteration. So with ads, this is why a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's so hard, because there's so many variables. There's 10, I don't know, it's like, let's say 10 variables, whatever. The process of installing into the ad campaign on the platform, maybe it's Meta, maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's Google, whatever, then it spits out an output. The output would be leads or purchases or calls to your local business, whatever. Now the feedback is, was it good or was it bad? Right? It's pretty continuum, right? Oh, we made 1-to-1, so it's break even. Oh, we're 5-to-1, we're 10-to-1, or holy crap, we didn't even get anything. So it's a continuum there. So that's the feedback. Great. What is the iteration? Now we look at what do we move next? Oh, our click-through rate was too low. We didn't get enough people clicking through, which means that not enough people saw it. Well, my creative probably sucked, or my copy probably sucked. Or they clicked through but didn't actually do the thing. Maybe the messaging on the landing page sucked, or wasn't congruent, or the video, maybe there was a video we had them watch and they kept falling off. Oh, wow. I said something at that minute 5 that pushed them off the video. Maybe I need to investigate that and make a different moment at that, maybe I change the copy inside of the video. These are all pieces of iteration, but it's the feedback you're getting that this didn't work, it didn't go, or it went really well. On the opposite, right? Holy crap, we're getting 10-to-1 returns on this. Why? This number looks good, this number looks good, this number looks good. Well, let me see where I can start the problem. Let me make more ad variations that are very similar to the thing that's already working. Can I do more of it? So that'd be an example of using feedback and iteration as a model for advertising to make it better, to fix it, or to scale it. That's one example as a coach. If you're an ads coach, you could probably apply this to pretty much anything. Let's say it's weight loss, right? Actually, I'm gonna use your brand. I'll use branding.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe the thing you're talking about is posting organic, which I've struggled with. I will self-convict myself. I will self-convict myself. All right.
That's funny. So this is why we're brother, sister, because the other person knows how to do things that the other person doesn't do.
Correct.
And it's very nice. It's very codependent in this very warm, loving way. Yeah.
No, you're gonna jump on my ass for that. But anyway, so to my point, so posting. All right, cool. Hey, if you post, the inputs would be like, the what are you saying in the post? What is the style of post? Maybe it's how long it is. What is the image or creative? Is it a picture of you? Is it a graphic? Is it a video, a reel, what have you? So that would be some of the variables. You post that and you check the response. Now it also depends on what you're trying to measure. Are we just trying to go for views and engagement, or we're trying to get money? Those are two different things completely.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
With
awareness and engagement and conversion, which is selling, are very different.
Those are two very different optimizations. Okay, so the outputs are completely different and what you're going for, which means you need to change. All right, if you're going for viewership and engagement, that organic might look very different than a conversion based trying to get revenue. Because if you're trying to get engagement, maybe you just got to look all, if you're a woman, maybe dress up a certain way and you dance in front of the camera showing off all your assets. That's one way of doing it.
Not recommended by this show, by the way. We're not doing that over here. We'd like you to own your brand.
Correct. So doing something funny, doing something stupid, humorous, really gimmicky, that'll get you engagement. But on the other side, for conversion, maybe it's breaking down a process, solving a problem, explaining mistakes, explaining why certain things are the way, or giving value in the sense of, here, let me solve your problem in a 2-minute video or 1-minute video, or at least give you the directional correctness so you can start solving that problem. That's going to look a lot different, and it's going to be much more niche. And so those are two different outputs. Now the feedback would be like, hey, I've been posting like this, let's say, for enough time to get a good testing. So I did this for 30 days, or I did this for 60 days, whatever, right? You give the timelines and go, great, how do I adjust? Hey, my market, I'm talking to all these people on sales calls. They're saying this. Great. That is the feedback. I need to iterate my content. And then round and round we go. A business, the structure of any business, if that's what we're going to talk about, humans in general, is it's a model, 4 major things: create, measure, learn, iterate. It's these 4 things: create, measure, learn, iterate. You go around and around and around. This is how you learn this is how you walk. It's how you do business. It's how you date, how you have a spouse in a relationship. how you do your, how you help your kids learn and grow. It's create. We do a new action, a new behavior. We measure that reaction or behavior to what ends up happening. We learn from it. We change it. We go do more of it or do less of it. It is around and around we go. That is it. So I think
Love
when you
that.
apply that model to everything that you do,
Mm.
it will allow you to get faster and better. And the faster you can do that, those four things, the faster you get at getting proficiency or efficiency at the thing you're doing.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Two models, a model, four models, and then a model about models. Like there's models on models on models. So I just wanted to I wanted to take a moment and I wanted you guys to be able to experience like the JonCameron that's the humbled genius. And it's a beautiful thing because I think that the humility allows an invitation for curiosity because I've seen a lot of people step away from people. We call your alter ego Jay. So
Yeah.
JonCameron's got alter ego Jay. Jay's like the street one. He's the one who nicknamed me. He didn't remember this, but we've decided his relational memory is not the same as his like educational intellectual memory. But 2 years ago, he just randomly called me a spicy meatball.
Oh man. Oh,
Like
I'm
who
wild.
does that? I just remember like, and again, like I guess we're at Olive Garden here, so
Back
I
to
don't know
meatballs.
what it is, but we're just at Olive Garden here. So we're spicy meatball, and the thing that he didn't realize is that he started this entire thread in our mastermind community where everyone started calling everyone spicy. So it'd be like spicy JonCameron, spicy Bijal, spicy whoever. It's just so cool, and it's like that took off. The literally that like I don't know what to
Endearment.
call it.
Endearment. Yeah.
Term of endearment took off, and so it was just so fun. And it started there. So we have like he has a very playful humor sense aside to him too, and that dynamic of like comedy and wit and banter, it helps to alleviate when your brain gets blasted like this. So
Yeah. I'm
it's
pretty goofy.
absolutely
I'm pretty
you're pretty
goofy.
goofy. Yeah, he's pretty goofy. We spell stuff like we spell stupid with two O's, and we do silly stuff. But you know, I do want to. I think that it's been amazing learning this, but I do want to end on this note. So first of all, if you guys want to follow JonCameron Johnson and watch the posts that he may not be posting, go ahead and that's a jab. That's a jab at him.
That is a jab.
He has gone through Brand Enthusiast and no, he did not follow the models, but that's okay.
I did not.
He did not follow the models, but we did get somewhere. We got some IP, we got some unlocking genius, and when it's time, I know the alter ego Jay will come out. But he's on Instagram, he's also on Facebook, so look him up. He's one to watch. He's one to follow. He is an incredible, giving person. Somebody who will share with you. He will lift you up. He will take you to places that you weren't certain about within yourself because he's done the work himself. So I just want to highlight that for a second.
Thank you.
And then JonCameron, I want you to just take just 30 seconds and explain what is quantum entanglement. Yes,
Shoot.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Okay. Quantum entanglement, in a nutshell, is where two particles in our universe, no matter the distance between them, if one does an action, the other one will have a reaction. Does not matter the distance. They could be billions of miles apart. They could be light years apart, and they still interact with each other. That is what quantum entanglement is.
So quantum entanglement in Bijal's world, which is a little different than JonCameron's, that's when I text him at the same time he's going to text me.
Yes.
And we're like, oh my God. And we act like little girls. So it's when your mom calls you and you're about to call your mom. It's when you were thinking something and someone voice notes you the same thing you're thinking. That serendipity. Ooh. Yes. I don't know. Is that a word? I'm just going for it.
That was good.
That is exactly what it is. It's my mom always calls it telepathy. It's true. It's real. So feel into it. And quantum entanglement is happening all around you to show you that we're connected in one energy. So I just want to stop and say thank you so much for joining us on the show, JonCameron Johnson.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. You're a beautiful human being. Proud to call you my little brother. And I'm so excited for you to get married here in the next few weeks.
I know. It's coming up. It's coming up real fast. So, and I'm excited to have you there. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. This was fun. And for those that are like, hey, my brain's a little hot, don't worry. I did my best to keep the smaller words, not big words. So.
You did great. You did so great. All right, bro. Thank you so much.
Of course. See you till next time.
So how do you turn your business into an actual brand? Well, my name is Bijal Patel, and I've had 13 years of corporate experience working at big Fortune 500 companies, and I'm taking all of that juicy firsthand experience and have brought it into my company Launch. Within this podcast, you're going to learn about branding, vision, identity, mindset, and how to scale your business to the next level. So let's go ahead and own your brand.